255, 255. Red is 255, 0, 0. Green is 0, 255, 0. And blue is 0, 0, 255. Rectangle is, rectangle is rect. Hi. How do you make the angle stop working on other lines if you want it to stop? Could you clarify that a little bit more? And then, because I'm happy to answer your question.
If you want to turn a shape to an angle, and then for another shape, like underneath it.
Oh, we want to know how to turn a shape, like angle the shape. Okay, so you want to know how to angle the shape. Okay, right after this.
Yeah.
Well, like, right after this, we'll go over that. Okay. Okay. Ellipse is the width, height, size, and I gotta move you guys, and then size. I'll put you at the bottom here. Triangle. Triangle is the coordinate, coordinate, coordinate. Okay, so when you're talking about turning a shape, the triangle and the ellipse are pretty easy to move or the arc. So when we go over to our bird's nest, you see we have the arc. The arc is pretty easy because that's the bird. I'm actually trying to look for the nest. So the arc is pretty easy because you move these. Because if you move these ones, why do I keep doing the ones that resize? See, moving this and then moving this changes the angle of the arc. But and with a triangle, it's the same thing as like you can angle the triangle. But then when it comes to the rectangle, it's a little bit harder. So I'm going to go over to my dashboard and take the bird one, the one that we used for the bird. And then make it and just cover the bird up by doing that. And then just saying angles. Oh, I meant 255. And then we're gonna make this one the bird. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna give it back the stroke weight because what I'm missing here. So I'm gonna do stroke because as you can see earlier, we did no stroke. So now we're gonna put stroke weight. And then I'm gonna put say 9 in there for the thickness. And rect. And no, I'm gonna go 9, 90, 80, 80. We're gonna make, so that's the standard rectangle. But if you want to angle something, it is easier oftentimes to just go rotate angle. We're gonna go rotate angle. Except instead of putting the angle, you're gonna say, I want to rotate it 45 degrees. But here's the thing. You didn't rotate the shape we just made. You're going to rotate the next shape we made, which is going to say be a rectangle. Why do I want to keep spelling it? 90, 90, 90. See, I rotated this way. So the rotate actually has to go above. Whatever you're making. I made something wrong. Where did I mess up? There it is. I just didn't enter the line of code. So now you can see that it is rotated 9 degrees, whereas this is rotated. But here's the deal. I wrote this, okay, this 45 degrees. Oh, okay. You tried this. Okay. So I'm going to put this back where it needs to go. Okay. And it's difficult. And then, so say you have your shape here. And your rectangle. And then you want to make it so your next rectangle, rect is going to be, say, you want your next one to not be rotated because we don't want to see rotated. We're trying to stack things. Then you're going to put rotate on again, and you're going to put it to 0. And what am I forgetting? Oh, it's supposed to be negative 45 degrees. Okay. So what your shape is gonna, so yeah, so you're supposed to rotate it back. The thing is, the computer is stupid, so it's not gonna rotate from the 90 degrees, it's gonna rotate. So your computer is stupid, like I said, and so it's not gonna rotate from, so it's going to rotate from this. I've got to get rid of one of these so I can explain it properly. Okay, I'm just gonna fill this one in with white. Okay. And then I'm gonna fill this one in with black. That way I can read this easier. Because I don't want to get rid of it for this demonstration purposes. So you see, you've got the 4 angles. So if I rotate this back negative to 45 degrees, you don't know where it's actually, what axis it's spinning on. So we're going to get rid of rotate. We're going to say this rotated 0. So I'm going to say this rotated 0. And then it rotates 4. Rotates 2. You notice that it's on like a big circle. Almost as if it's on like a really big circle. Now, this really big circle is just the center, the top left. I don't know if what I'm showing you on my hands is the left corner of the screen. This can be as if it's from the top left corner of the screen. So no matter how far, the farther away it is from this top left corner of the screen. So say if I move to this back. So I'm going to rotate this 8. So if I move this closer to the top of my screen, rotating it as you can see, is it travels around this corner. And eventually it makes a full 360. So you can keep going past that 360, just everything past 360 is just going to be doing the same thing. So I can put this at 45 degrees and be fine because of where this is located. So if I put this right there and say on the 70, put this on the 75 line, which is about halfway through this, rotating it 45 degrees, it's really just gonna spin it around that circle. And then when it hits negative 45, it's going to hit that center, but on the top. So as you can see, it's just rotating around that top corner. Does that make sense? So rotating an object rotates around that top corner. Now, who wants to get into the actual animating part of animation? Who wants to make this say bird fly away? Which actually might be the most difficult part of all. So I say, I'd start with, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need a draw function. And if you don't remember how to do a draw function, you can find it down here. Why did I put a parenthesis before I did equal function? All right, there we go. Now he doesn't know what it is. I'm going to put in my code for my background. I'm going to copy this. And I like tabbing all mine in so I can tell what is in a drawing function. And then I'm also going to put the tree into my draw function. Is this making sense so far? If people want to ask questions while I'm doing this, they can. I'll explain that before it comes to that. So what I'm doing is I'm putting in what makes my tree function, because I'm gonna want that repeated over and over and over again. So I am going to put everything a little bit in. So it's gonna start off. So if you originally if we just drew this, now that we're putting it in a draw function, we wouldn't actually need this code here, but because that code is for like if you're doing a drawing, since we're animating it, we're going to put all of this code in. Now we've got the nest. This is where it gets really fun. There we go. So now we're going to put the bird in. Notice that I'm putting the bird under the nest because I want the bird to go behind the nest. Okay, yeah, no, sure. So what I'm doing is I'm putting things in the draw function. Because the draw function is going to repeat it over and over and over again until the end of time. in theory. So what I am putting in is I'm putting in all of this into my draw function. I'm keeping this. And I'm actually going to, and I'm saving all of this because it's my original code. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to get rid of all of this code. I don't need it anymore. But what the draw function does is it basically draws it over and over and over again until the end of time. So I'm putting all the code that I currently have into the draw function because I'm not going to need it because I've already done it. So now you can see that it's almost as if I never put it in a draw function. I am going to do a spin-off of BurdenS and I'm going to save it so that way I have my original code from last week and now I have my new code for this week. And so I'm going to define a variable before this. And so that's how we're going to make the bird fly away, is because we're going to. Okay, you're confused. Okay. What are you confused about the most? That way I can explain it deeper.
How does it work?
Okay, how does the draw function work? The draw function, in its most simple form, is basically, so you're thinking the draw function, okay, which is like, oh, you're probably thinking, what's the difference? Because I already drew the shape. What this is going to do is it's going to tell the computer to repeat this over and over and over and over. So the original drawing makes it so it just does it once. The draw function makes it so, I'll go into here so I can explain it further. And I'm gonna get rid of that. So normally when you do it, you get say something, you get something like this, which is just
Wait,
the drawing.
do you like delete your code?
So I deleted my code in that because I didn't want extra lines of code that I didn't need. I put all of that original code into my draw function. So you don't get rid of the code. You just copy and paste it on, like re-put it into here.
Oh, so the draw function, it's for colors, so you don't need to like keep it.
The draw function, yeah. The draw function is what allows you to animate things.
Oh.
So originally you just made like a paint, when you do a painting, right? That's what coding outside of the draw function is like. In this situation, it's like putting a painting there. But if you wanted to make a movie, you would need to put a bunch of things together to make the movie. So the draw function is kind of like putting all those pieces together. I'm going to explain it further. So I'm going to do the draw function, and then I'm going to do I'm going to make the background white again. Okay, and then I'm going to do draw equals function. And I am going to put in, say, I'm going to define my variables. So I'm going to do var x equals 1. And then I'm going to put a semicolon. And then I'm going to do rect. And then to put x for the variable, and then put 90, 90, 90. And then I keep forgetting semicolons. And then I'm going to put var x equals x plus 1. And I'm going to put a semicolon. And something wrong. What did I do wrong? Okay. Once I get I'll explain. Why do you do the plus 1? Okay. Once I figure out what I'm doing wrong, sometimes this happens when I code. I just use track of it. Okay. Draw function. Okay. Now, so why is the plus 1? So it's x plus 1. That is what makes it move. See, so there we go. I figured it out. So the x plus plus is what makes it move. But you want to make it so you have the background turns white. So you want the shape to move. So you put the background here and you make it white. Why am I taking that up? 255, 255, 255. That makes it the background white. So now you see the shape moving across the screen. So the x plus plus changes this variable, which is this variable, right? Well, the first variable, if you put 90 here and you placed this with x, you would see the shape moving this way. Do you understand? Do people understand this concept? I kind of want to know before I move on, because if not, I do want to go deeper.
I'm confused.
You're confused. Okay. See, this is why I've asked. Okay. So some of you understand, some of you are confused. So the draw function is like, so you have the draw function, right? Which just repeats it over and over again until the end of time. So you're going to have your background. So that restart, say that's like erasing your whiteboard. Say you have a whiteboard. And so, and the draw function is like you have, so the draw function is a whiteboard. And you want to make an animation, like a stop motion, where you take a picture of it, a bunch of pictures. So you have your whiteboard, and then you erase it before every single time. And then you erase it till the end of time, and then you draw something on it, you take your picture, and then you erase it. That's what the background is. It's like erasing it, drawing your picture, and erasing it. The rectangle right here is the drawing. So before, like, you erase it. And this x plus plus at the end tells this variable that it wants to plus 1. If I did x plus 2, it would break the code. So the background means after one code, it changes the color to the chosen color. Yes. So what I could do is I could do plus plus, and I see that rectangle moving across the screen. And then I could move this to x. And then by restarting that, you slowly see the color change over time. If you wanted to do that with all of them, you could do that, and it would start black and then it would slowly fade white. And so that's how people can do setting suns. How does it, I think, okay. See? So put that to white. So how do I make relations? You're going to make the variable. You're going to declare your variable, which is x, which is var x equals 1. So that is your variable. And then you're going to do your draw function, and then you're going to have this at the end. You're going to put your variable where you want it to move. So if you wanted the rectangle to move sideways, you put it here. If you want it to move up and down, you put it here. And then at the end, x plus plus is the way you can make it go relative, like at a normal speed across your screen. If you want it to move further or faster, you increase that number.
So it's like the variable, it's x, and then x is equal to 1, and then at the end of the code you have to put the variable and 2 plus signs.
That is correct. And that because that 2 plus signs makes it so that variable makes it move. So that's how you get it to move across the screen. So if I go here and I want the bird to move across the screen, then I would define the variable by doing var x equals 0, and then put it like that. I want the bird to go fly across the screen, then I would have this drawing, and then I would change this variable. You have to change 1 to a var. Yes, so I'm going to be changing this arc to x plus 208, because that's where I want it to start. And so I want this ellipse to move. So I'm going to do x plus 180. So I'm going to restart it. And then I forgot to put my x plus at the end. And now you see that some of the bird is flying away. And now we're going to bring it back, and then we're going to get rid of this so it doesn't move while I'm working on it. And so I'm going to do, for each of the x's, I'm going to do x plus that x plus that variable, and then x plus that variable. And then if I did it correctly, and I add the x plus plus back in, it should move the whole thing.
How do you know what numbers to put?
How do I know what numbers to put? Like the x is 208?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the starting position of the bird. Like that's the starting position of the bird. So if I wanted it to stay at that level, then I would put it at this. Then I'm going to put it at the 208, because if I get rid of it and I say put it at 2 and I press restart, then it starts that over here. And it starts the bird's body way far away. And then, so I'm going to do the same thing for this triangle. And I'm going to do the slit, and I'm going to finish that off by doing that. And then doing X plus. And then putting, and then going here. Going to the end of this, and then defining that variable at the end of this code. So I'm going to do var, I'm going to do X plus plus. And then put a semicolon because I forgot the semicolon. Now you see the bird just go slowly move that way. But we want the bird to fly away, not just go sideways. So we're going to actually put the X plus the 107 over here. And then we're going to put the X. And then we're going to put plus X on every variable. We're going to double check testing it with the arc, if that works correctly. Oh, that does not work correctly. See, this is, we actually need to change so that X. Now, I'm going to test this out. It's opposite by trying to see what happens if you go X minus minus. And it moves it up, and away, like so. Where's that ellipse? That's being a little weird. Okay, this ellipse. So we're going to, because the X plus plus and the X minus minus work the same. So we want this bird to fly away out of the nest. We're going to need to move. We're going to need to do what we just did to all of the other numbers. So with the ellipse, it's the first two, but the triangle, it's all of the numbers. And with the arc, it's the first two, because those are the X and Y. So with this, it makes it easy for you. Because if you look here, it tells you that you have the X and the Y. So that tells you where each point moves. So the first two of the rectangle would be changed, the first two of the ellipse, the line, all points would have to be changed. The arc, it's the first two. So that's how you know which ones to change. Does that make sense?
I still don't know where to put your variables and the pluses.
Okay, so the variable goes at the very top of your function, like at the very top of your code. And like the very top of where, like the beginning of where you're going to put it. So I put mine at the very top of the code. You see? And at the very bottom of my code, right here is where I'm going to fix it, but I still want it within that function. That way it runs it over and over and over again. Does that make sense?
Yes, but for when you put it, like for your shapes.
For the shapes, okay. So for these shapes, this is okay. Do you see where it says X and Y on all of these shapes, where it has X and Y?
Yes.
That is the numbers that you would change. So if you wanted the Y to move twice, if you wanted the Y to have a different number than the X, then you would make another variable Y, and then you would replace it with, and you would see that's what I'm doing. So if I wanted it to, the reason it goes x plus blank is because I wanted to start from a specific point in the code. So that's why I wanted to start the bird to start in the next. But if you didn't want the bird to start in the next, and you wanted the bird to start from the corner and come down, you would make it so it goes. You just put the x there, and then you do x plus plus. But since I want the bird to go from here to here, I'm having it start from a specific spot, so the 208, and then I'm doing the x plus 208. So I'm doing the subtract 1 plus 208, subtract 2 plus 208. Does that make sense? It's like building on itself. So it starts at 0 here, right? And then it subtracts 1, and then that becomes, and then this variable becomes 1, and then it repeats itself over and over again. So it'd be 1 minus 1 would be 2, and then it would be 2 minus 1, which would be 3. 2 minus 3, negative 3, I mean, not actually the number 3, but it would be subtracting 3 from the 208, and then it does that over and over again. So you see the bird moving. But you have the background here with the bird in the middle, because you want the bird, you don't have the background here, and you do, and then you put it outside, and you do it, then the bird just does that, which is why you put the background function. Does that make sense? I'll be showing you that. I'll be sending this code I'll be posting it to the Google Classroom for everyone to see if they want to explore it and mess around with it. But does this so far make sense? Oh, and remember, shapes layer on top of each other. So that's why I have the nest below the bird, because I don't want the bird to start on top of the nest, but I also don't want the bird to be underneath the leaves. But if you wanted it to have, say, the bird coming out from the leaves, you would put the leaves over top of the bird and you wouldn't have the nest. Does that make anyone sense? So whatever you have on the bottom here is going to be your bottom layer. So it's going to start with the blue, and then you're going to put the green, and then you put the trunk of the tree, and then you put the leaves, and then you have the bird, and then the nest. So it's like layers, as if you were like putting like one sheet of paper that you cut out a design on, and then you laid another sheet of paper with a different cutout on it. So it would have layers, like an onion. It's like when you're painting, whatever you paint first is going to be on the bottom. Any questions?
So, so when you put your variables in the code to move your shapes, when you put them like in the parentheses.
The parentheses?
The parentheses.
No, it's fine.
Do you just like, how do you know where like the shape is going to head?
How do you know which way the shape is going to head? Okay, so like, let me get a piece of paper and a pen real quick. Okay. So let me draw something quick on the table. So okay, so I think this is reversed. Okay, let me redraw this, but I'm not going to read that. I'm just going to turn it. So say this is your top left corner, okay? That's this corner of your screen, right? This corner is this corner, okay? And so increasing, so if you put any like number, it's going to go this way in like X value. It's going to go this way, which is your X axis. Any number you put in the Y axis is going to go this way. So if this is 0, 0, if this is 0, 0, if you put 1, 0, you're going to go 1 this way and you're going to be at the top. If you put, say, 70, 70, you're going to go down this way. So if you go, following my mouse, if you start like your shape here, say directly in the middle, and you want it to move this way, you are going to put, or you want it to move this way, you are going to put plus, because it is that number plus whatever else is. If you wanted your variable to be if you want your variable to make it move left on your thing, it is going to be subtract. Or if you want it to move up, it's going to be subtract. If you want it to move down, you can also, then that would be adding. So if I wanted to, I could do X plus plus. And then from here, I would do 189.
Wait,
Subtracting X.
is like, is left or right? Which one do you put a negative sign, and which one do you put?
So left is negative, right is positive. Okay. Up is negative, down is positive. So think of it as you start in the top left corner, and then you go and then the further down you go, the higher the number, and the further right you go, the higher the number. So subtracting would move something left or up.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else have any questions? And don't worry about feeling nervous asking questions either in chat or like over the call. When I was a beginner coder, and I sometimes still do, I have to look things up or have to ask a teacher just because things are difficult. And then sometimes, as you've seen today, you forget what you're doing and you forget how to do it, and you just have to kind of take a step back and figure it out. Something about the bird moving up just makes me so happy. But so that is how you animate things the most beginner way possible. But so from there, you can do a lot.
So left is positive.
No, think less is left. So less is left. So subtracting less is left. That's how I remembered it. Is I would go, okay, wait, less is left. Okay. And so then I would remember okay, so starting from the corner, it's going to be the smaller the number, the more left the object is, or subtracting would take me left. So less is left. LO. So,
so is the top, is it negative or positive?
Negative. So if you wanted a shape to move up on the page, it is going to be less, or like negative. Like if you have talking about the variables, the top of your page is always going to be a positive number, but if you wanted it, if it moved into the negatives, it would take it off the page. So from the top, so think less is left, and then the top is also going to be less. No, it's no problem. You should have seen me when I was a beginner coder. It was I probably annoyed my teacher so much with how many questions I asked, but that was his job. So I probably wasn't as annoying as I thought I was. But I was very much confused with the idea of variables at first. And then it took me some time. And then I did my first big project with it. And then I went, oh, it's much easier than I thought it was. It just took me time to get used to. So you'll have that same, it's a learning curve. It can be difficult, but that is it's fun in the end. You get once you know how to use it, it's so much easier and things make a lot more sense once you understand it. But sometimes it takes you practicing it a little bit to understand it. Any other questions?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. See, okay. I'm trying to think of any one. Okay, because I'm talking about animation. So you might see this and you might go, what is trigonometry? Trigonometry is a class that you will take in high school or college. And it will just be and you'll learn it then. It's not something you really have to worry about when you're coding. But some people really like to get it difficult, really like to be difficult. And they like to make their coding complicated and then put trigonometry in there. You do not need to put trigonometry in your code. I'm going to be honest, in my 9 years of coding, I have never once actually used the trigonometry I learned for it. So I am yet to actually use any of this cosine tan, which is probably not, it probably does make it easier, but I'm just letting you know that you do not need it. And I have never used it outside of some practice. So, and then blend is okay. Blend is a good one. I'm gonna.
Okay, so it's not about what we learned today. So maybe maybe we can do it later. But how do you make your colors go from one color to another and like
So this one is I really like doing this. So I'm going to go back to this variable from on here just as an explanation. And so I have this. So I'm going to say pick a color. I'm going to pick this bright purple because I really like this color purple. And I'm going to replace it with X. I'm going to replace it with X. And I'm going to replace this variable with X. And then I'm going to restart my code, and you can see it go from black to purple. Or you could do 255 subtracting X. But if you're trying to find, and if you're trying to blend two colors together, you have this blend color. And so then I'm going to bring back the rect for this. I do not like how I didn't put spaces in there. And then I am going to put blend color above that. And then I'm going to put I've never used blend color. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know something about this.
maybe you have to put both of the colors.
No, you know what? I do know how to use blend color. I just don't like using it. Sometimes I forget. So this is what happens. So so blend color is used in here. So what you do is you make the variables. So you make the variable of the color. So orange C, which is going to be this, right? And then you're going to have blue C, and that's going to be this color. And then they made a bunch of modes for all these different versions of the colors, like all the different things you could do to it. So like dark, subtract, add, blend, diffuse, exclude, multiply, and then they put them into the calculation. If you want to learn how to blend colors more, I can go really into depth in it next time, but we don't have enough time for it to go. And then lurk colors the same way, where you define the colors with a variable, and then you do the lurk color. Most times you will not use it at all. It's usually just code you can do to practice. But if you guys want to go more into depth of that next time, that is totally possible, and I'm totally willing to go into it. I just don't have enough time to like fully dive deep into how to do that specific. Any last questions since we've got 4 minutes left?
No.
Okay. If any of you guys want to, in the Google Classroom,